Welcome to Coaching Classroom Instruction, a Principal Cadre webinar, which is a flipped opportunity for Principal Cadre participants and those who are not able to attend to gain knowledge and skills in the art and craft of classroom coaching. I'm Deb Wragge, and I'm going to serve as your guide on this flipped opportunity today in order to gain more background knowledge and skills in the area of classroom coaching. And Heidi and Steph and I are very happy to have you be a part of this. The materials that we'll be sharing with you today are a part of the Trainer of Trainers opportunity that ESU 8 and ESU 1 have entered into with the partnership of the Marzano Research Laboratories. Also joining in this Trainer of Trainer opportunities are Norfolk Public Schools and West Boyd Public Schools, who will be contributing at the January 14th O'Neill Central Office second face-to-face Principal Cadre. We're really happy to have you be a part of this webinar, and I think we're ready to get started. What is the most important factor in student learning? I don't think any of us can argue that it is the classroom teacher. The classroom teacher is the key to everything that happens within the classroom. James Steiger and James Hibbert share with us that teachers must be the primary driving force behind change. They are best positioned to understand the problems that students face and to generate those possible solutions. Bill Gates, in a recent TED Talk, as recent as April 13th, states that all teachers need real feedback. Let me share his message with you.
Everyone needs a coach. It doesn't matter whether you're a basketball player, a tennis player, a gymnast, or a bridge player. My bridge coach, Sharon Osberg, says there are more pictures of the back of her head than anyone else's in the world. Sorry, Sharon. Here you go. We all need people who will give us feedback. That's how we improve. Unfortunately, there's one group of people who get almost no systematic feedback to help them do their jobs better. And these people have one of the most important jobs in the world. I'm talking about teachers. When Melinda and I learned how little useful feedback most teachers get, we were blown away. Until recently, over 98% of teachers just got one word of feedback: satisfactory. If all my bridge coach ever told me was that I was satisfactory, I would have no hope of ever getting better. How would I know who is the best? How would I know what I was doing differently? Today, districts are revamping the way they evaluate teachers, but we still give them almost no feedback that actually helps them improve their practice. Our teachers deserve better. The system we have today isn't fair to them. It's not fair to students, and it's putting America's global leadership at risk. So today I want to talk about how we can help all teachers get the tools for improvement they want and deserve.
So as you can see by Bill Gates's message, he has shared with us that it takes more than just being satisfactory. Really, are teachers and evaluators really satisfied with satisfactory? Just what does satisfactory mean? It means different things to both teachers and to uh, coaches or principals or evaluators. For a teacher, it can mean that I'm doing okay. I must be doing what the district or the evaluator believes I should be doing. I must have reached the expectation of either my principal or my evaluator. For an evaluator or a principal, it means that, well, you're doing about what we think you should be doing, and we really you're doing fine. We don't need to do anything more than that. But the question is, really, what does the word satisfactory communicate to both the uh, observed and by the observer? Where are the collegial conversations that need to happen in order to help both the coach and the coachee become the best possible educator they can be? Where's the support, the the opportunity for us to, as teachers or as coaches, to reach out and actually assist each other in being the best that we possibly can be? Well, the answer to this is when coaching accompanies any training, when both the coach and the coachee have those conversations about what teaching actually looks like, or how the coachee or the coach interpret what's happening within that classroom. Research shows that when coaching accompanies training, teachers transfer 80 to 90% of what they learn into the classroom. Now, this is compared to the only 5 to 10% when there's just training alone. Those are those sits and gets because they've been there, and unless they attach to something significant that happened within that training, they only apply 5 to 10%. Coaching actually allows the teacher to absorb far more of of, what's the training that's being shared with them. Also, quality instruction makes a difference, and that's the heart of coaching. Good teaching can make a significant difference in teacher and student achievement. It can be equal to one effect size, that's a standard deviation, which is also equivalent to the effect that demographic classifications can have on achievement. You know, when we disaggregate data, we talk about free and reduced lunch. We talked about ethnicity sometimes. We talk about the distance that some students have to come to school and the effect that it has upon them. We talk about all those kinds of things, but we never really take the time to talk about the difference that the teacher instruction and the teacher's self worth or their self understanding of the skill of teaching has effect upon student learning. In a complex endeavor such as teaching, the question here is, how does a teacher reach and then maintain the highest levels of performance without help? You know, we all come out of college with what is believed to be all the tools we're going to need to teach. But we know as we mature in our teaching, uh, it takes more than just the tools that we get from our basic training back when we were in our college days. It takes coaching. Let's look to Webster for a definition of coaching. Coaching is a developmental strategy that enables people to meet their goals for improved performance, growth, or career enhancement. In education, it's a form of non-evaluative supervision or assistance or guidance in order to be the best that you possibly can be. The focus in coaching is always on the coachee, not on the coach. The coach is there to be the guide by the side. That focus has the assumption that it's the coachee that has a goal and that it's the coach's job to help him or her meet that goal. It's the relationship, which is a two-way relationship between the coach and the coachee, rather than a one-way telling from the evaluative side. This is a partnership, a relationship, a two-way relationship between the coach and the coachee. The focus is also very positive and very objective. It focuses on what the coachee wants to be coached on. It offers the opportunity not to focus on what is not working well, but rather what the coachee wants to improve. And then the coach provides that assistance and that support so that it can be positive and objective. The current research on the benefits of coaching share with us that the most effective means of helping teachers transfer newly acquired knowledge and skills into their classroom has to or needs to have the benefits of coaching. This signpost are best identifies the types of activities that a coach and a coachee engage in. Coaching benefits the teacher in 5 ways. It offers them the opportunity to practice new strategies more frequently and develop greater skills with those new strategies, and to hone skills that they have more sharply. It benefits the teacher to use the newly strategies when they learn them more appropriately. They get the support and the structure and the leadership from the coach, which allows them to be able to, with fidelity, with purpose, appropriately apply that strategy. Teachers exhibit greater long-term retention of knowledge, and that increases the appropriateness of the use over time. Teachers are more likely to explain their new teaching methods to their students. This ensures that students understand why or the purpose of the strategy and the behavior of the strategy so that they respond more positively to the instruction and the guidance of the teacher. Teachers exhibit clear cognitions. Those are those thinking patterns and those thinking skills that teachers need to develop and hone over their teaching careers. This clear cognition gives regard to the purposes and to the uses of the new strategy and allows them to be more fluid, more more at ease with the strategies that they are working with them and their students in order to increase their students' learning. There are goals for teaching, and they are rather simple goals. The first goal is to point teachers towards the best practices. If the coach uses solid research bases of really what works, the coaching focuses on the work on making decisions, and they are positive decisions that have strength behind them. They are tried and true. Now that doesn't mean that the teacher shouldn't go out and do some action research on their own, but it means that those initial strategies or that toolbox that the teacher fills with best practices has a solid base in research. Another goal is to show teachers what good teaching looks like. Good coaches know how to break down a performance into its critical components and actually step by step coach that teacher into good teaching. Another goal is to help teachers maintain their best performance. No matter how well people are prepared in their formative years, few can achieve and maintain their best performance on their own. We all need a little feedback. Another goal is to help teachers achieve flow. Flow happens when teachers are fully immersed in the process of growth and change. To reach that state of full engagement, the activity needs to be intrinsically interesting and just within the reach of their abilities. They need to find that sweet spot, that wow spot, that where the level of the challenge perfectly matches the skills, the training, and the strengths and the resources of the performer. Coaches who enter that state as often as possible by working want teachers to enter that as often as they possibly can while working on these strategies. They want them to find that sweet spot, that flow. And then the last goal is to help teachers take risks. Now, a coach is one who will challenge his or her educators to break away from the norm, to be creative, to use their imaginations, to initiate something new, to act in new ways, not to always do the same thing over and over and over again. A coach leader is a facilitator of a new mindset. So, what are the arguments for the non-evaluative nature of coaching? Well, as you can see from the graphic on this slide, trust is a huge element in the nature of coaching. Effective communication can only take place in a non-threatening environment. The climate, well, it has to foster equality and freedom, trust and understanding, acceptance and warmth. In this climate of trust, and only in this climate of trust, does the individual or the coachee feel safe enough to incorporate new experiences and new values into his concept of himself and his craft of teaching. What this really looks like in practice is an emphasis on the descriptive rather than on the evaluative feedback. And then there's a more faithful reflection and an honoring of the coachee's own perceptions of their teaching by the coach. In other words, it's a trusting dialogue between the coach and the coachee. It's non-evaluative. It's an assistance. It's a moving forward and enhancement. Doug Reeves shares with us that there are two requirements for effective coaching. to take place. He says that the first requirement is that the person that's receiving the coaching agrees that a change in performance will be useful. He says that the second requirement is that we have to be linking the learning with performance, which emphasizes the coach's role in determining a coachee's current performance and help him or her learn what is necessary for improvement, what is necessary for them to hone their skills. There are some requirements for an effective coachee. As you can see in the Jenny Rogers quote below, the word volunteer is in bold red letters. To begin any coaching series or any coaching situation, the coach needs to seek out volunteers, people who are willing and open to change and are brave, people who are willing to face the reality of their practice. Edgar Schein, he also says that ideally the person being coached should volunteer and be motivated to learn, grow, and change. There are some elements that Jim Knight shares with us about the effectiveness of coaching and what needs to be in place in order to ensure that the coaching situation is positive, is accompanies growth and does move forward. He says that the first element that we need to have in place is trust, and that's relational trust. He says that coaches must demonstrate goodwill and genuine concern for the well-being of the teachers that they're working with. He says that by exhibiting relational trust, a coach can promote trust by showing consideration and sensitivity for the teacher's feelings and their needs, and by acting in ways that protect teachers' rights. In other words, maintaining confidentiality about and separating the coaching situation from supervision and evaluation. It has to be understood that in a coaching situation, what happens between the coach and the coachee in those particular opportunities does not have a reflection upon the evaluation of the teacher until they're in an evaluation situation. Coaching is coaching, evaluation is evaluation, and supervising or supervision is the watching of the process of what happens. In other words, supervising the whole process. Jim Knight also says that feedback is a very important part of coaching. Just like Bill Gates in the earlier clip shared with us that feedback is one of the greatest missing parts of a teacher's professional conversation, collegial conversations, and coaching conversations, and life situations. We get very little feedback about what's happening. Jim Knight says that if a teacher doesn't know what their strength or their weakness might be, it would be difficult for that teacher to improve his or her knowledge and skill. He also says that feedback helps teachers figure out how to accomplish their goals. Those conversations, those collegial conversations between the coach and the coachee are so very important. The feedback that the coach gives to the coachee should be specific and honest. It needs to be clear about what you want to say as a coach in advance. Know what you want to say. Own that feedback, coaches. You need to start with the positive. Be very specific about what you observed. Do not be general about it. And it's very important to give one piece of feedback at a time. If you give too many pieces of feedback in a session, things become muddled and confused, and it's hard to focus on what exactly, which piece of feedback to focus on. So just give one piece of feedback at a time. And remember that it's important to focus on the behavior that you want the teacher to adapt or adopt rather than to work on the personality or the structure of the teacher and other things that you might notice within the teacher's classroom. Jim Knight also states that an important element in coaching is choice. That's the choice of the coachee based upon the coaching of the coach. He says that coaches who act on the principle of choice position teachers as the final decision makers, as partners who choose their coaching goals and decide which practices to adopt and how to interpret the data that's received from the observations of the coach. In summary, coaching in the classroom is a professional, collegial dialogue and a working relationship between an academic coach and a volunteer teacher coachee. The work of coaching in the classroom of this team is centered on a goal identified by the coachee and tutored by the coach. And the goal of the coaching relationship is to enhance the coachee's professional practice, assist them in maintaining their professional best, and to encourage and assist the coachee as they take risks. We have some reflection questions that we want you to consider between now as you end or close with this particular webinar and when we meet in our next Principal Cadre. These three questions are this: does your district have a coaching model? If you do, how would you describe it? And if you don't, how would you like it to look? What resources or strategies would be helpful in implementing or strengthening a successful coaching model in your district? We thank you for participating in this Principal Cadre webinar. We want to remind you that Principal Cadre Session 2 is on January 14th at the central office of the O'Neill Public Schools. Here is the address and the phone number for it. Again, the presenters will be myself, Deb Wragge, Heidi Rethmeyer, and Steph Wanik, along with West Boyd and Norfolk Public Schools, who are a part of the Marzano Research Labs TOT teams. We're going to be having a working lunch, and it'll be provided on site. And this session will be in session from 9 to 2 o'clock. As we look at this next slide, this is a brief overview of what will be occurring at session 2. Note again that it's January 14th, 9 to 2 o'clock at the O'Neill Central offices. We're going to do a brief upload and a familiarization of the 41 elements of the art and science of teaching model. Then we're going to work in the area of how to use and implement Marzano's scale in relationship to the 41 elements to measure a teacher's progress. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what it is and how you conduct a teacher self-audit. And we'll do a little more on coaching for and the process of once the scale has been administrated as a self-audit to the teachers, how do we assist the coachee in writing their growth goals? And then overall, how do we establish an academic coaching perspective within our district? How do we make it safe and make it be uh, fruitful and strong as far as helping our teachers to reach their maximum performances? We're also going to spend some time doing some video practice and some playing of a coach session so that you'll be able to go back to your district and have a model in order to be able to follow. We also want to remind you that ESU 7 and ESU 4 are hosting Marzano Research Laboratory Academies. This is the fourth academy that has been offered across the state. Now, the purpose of those academies are to assist schools in developing and implementing a common language of instruction based on the Marzano Research Laboratory's model of instruction. As you can see, the dates are scheduled. There are three back-to-back sets of dates that will be over the 2014 and 15 years. The cost is a one-time fee of $9,000 paid by the district in order to be able to participate in this academy. Deadline for registration is January 15th. And if you and your principal, other principals and superintendent have been talking about this and you're wondering where all the details and the forms are, um, I sent out an email on October 23rd in regard to this. And just recently, on the 6th of December, Jill Bates sent a second notice out to the superintendents. Within both of those particular emails are the details of the opportunity and all the forms that are necessary in order to register and be a part of this learning opportunity. Again, we thank you for being a part of this webinar, and we look forward to seeing you on January 14th.